The bodyguards go off duty. Jake liked being a bodyguard because the job gave him the freedom to be the kind of guy he was. Being a bodyguard meant that he could be rough and ready without being criticized. Being rough and ready was part of the job. Not that he was a mean, tough guy, but he was a tough guy. The interesting aspect of his job was that he did not have to do much more than give any nuisance person more than a stare, and they would shoo. Actually, the kind of jobs he did these days didn't call for much in the way of any kind of brute force or steely stares. Most of them were like the one he was working tonight, just being on hand to protect several high-level politicians at an exclusive cocktail party following a day of meetings. Jake had been working for the same company for 5 years and had risen up in the ranks to the point where he was the go-to guy for training new bodyguards. It was more than just showing them the ropes of the business. Jake also had a built-in natural bullshit detector. His employers knew that Jake could spot someone who was going to be no good at the job, and he could spot that person immediately. It was good for the company's reputation, because none of their bodyguards ever raised even a minor complaint from the clients. A lot of this good reputation was due to Jake, and guys like him who set a high standard and ensured that everyone they worked with maintained that standard. If they had particularly valuable clients to protect, Jake was the first one they called. They let him hand-pick the other guards that he would like to work with if it was a job that called for several bodyguards. Being a bodyguard was something Jake enjoyed because it was pretty easy work for him. He stood well over 6 feet tall and had a lot of free time that he could use to work on his well-built muscles. It was a rare attacker that would dare to confront Jake. Unlike many of his colleagues, Jake didn't shave his head or take the clippers to trim his hair. He was aware that short hair or no hair was an advantage in hand-to-hand combat. Jake liked his hair long. It made a statement. It showed that he did not expect to be in physical combat, but it also showed that if he were in combat, he was confident he could handle the situation quite easily. Instead of a short haircut, Jake chose to pull his black hair back and wear it tied back in a ponytail. He usually kept his ponytail tucked inside the back of his jacket. It had been more than 2 years since the last time he had had to punch out someone's lights. He was telling this to the new recruit that he was working with this evening. He had trained Lloyd and liked the guy. They were becoming friends as well as work colleagues. A good bodyguard needs to be able to anticipate and solve situations before they turn violent, Jake told Lloyd. Lloyd was a stocky 5'8" with a seriously shaved head. Jake could see evidence that if Lloyd's head had not been shaved, it would only support a ring of sandy-colored hair. Jake approved of Lloyd's look. The bald head suited his body type and demeanor. Lloyd was so seriously bulked up that at first Jake suspected some steroid use. He had hoped it was in the past. Steroids were notorious for feeding violent tendencies. Since then, he learned that Lloyd never used steroids, but he worked out every day. Lloyd was a good guy. Jake could tell that. He liked him both as a bodyguard and as a person. Lloyd even knew how to dress for the occasion, and tonight, because the occasion was guarding a high-level politician, both men were conservatively dressed. Only their size and their hair, or lack of it, separated them from the other men in suits. Both Jake and Lloyd were wearing custom-tailored suits that flattered their brawny shapes. It was the kind of outfit that called for Jake to leave his lengthy hair neatly braided and hanging down over his black silk suit jacket. It had been an uneventful evening, and the crowd was beginning to trickle away. Lloyd looked at Jake, and Jake could see out of the corner of his eye that Lloyd was debating whether to say something or not. Jake didn't make eye contact with Lloyd, but continued to look straight ahead at the dwindling crowd. A few minutes later, he asked, "What's on your mind, Lloyd?" Lloyd hesitated and then spoke. "I was just looking at those 2 ladies over there." Jake scanned the room to make sure that all was under control, and then followed Lloyd's gaze. There were 2 brunettes standing together off to the side of the main clump of people. They were both large ladies, or big, beautiful women, as Jake liked to think of them. He was interested in what Lloyd's comments were going to be. His own personal feelings about big, beautiful women was that they were indeed beautiful. "I see them," Jake said. "What's your take on them?" Lloyd asked. "Do you think there is a threat to the clients?" Lloyd laughed. "Well, that too. I was wondering what you thought of them. Personally, that is." Jake laughed. "I think I'd like to get to know them better, if we were not on duty." Lloyd said, "I was thinking exactly the same thing. Too bad that we were on the job." Jake said, "It wouldn't hurt to at least say hello to them and make sure that they're having a good evening."